Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session of Stories of Success. I, Khushbu Gangwani, once again welcome you to all on this session of Stories of Success from Mahabodhi. So we always listen so many success stories, and we inspire also from stories. So we Mahabodhi thought why we also can share some stories with all of you. So we have Miss Anjana and Mr. Hiren Panchal. Mr. Hiren Panchal is the founder of Mahabodhi with us, who will be hosting for this session with us. Hirenji, I request you to please start the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Khushbu. Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the session from Mahabodhi Talks, the session on stories of success. Mahabodhi Talks, let me tell you about a few things about Mahabodhi Talks. In Mahabodhi Talks, we have created this platform to upgrade and upskills the knowledge of HR professionals as well as the training fraternity. And we do lots of programs for the upskilling of trainers through this media, Mahabodhi Talks platform. And so far we have done so many different programs. And today we have thought of coming up with this novel idea of sharing the stories of success, specifically in the domain of HR and training field. Today, our host or the person who is going to present her own story of success is Miss Anjana, a very good friend. And a brief introduction about the Anjana, that Anjana is first of all, very good human being, and she's an TEDx speaker, India's first and only breast cancer coach, very famous motivational speaker, not in India but also abroad. Also, he has done his shared her knowledge on different platforms. A very accomplished trainer who has worked with so many different companies, and we are very privileged also that Anjana is also on advisory board of Mahabodhi Trainers Club. And I personally know the story how she has reached to this level of success, and so that we have called her. That will definitely going to inspire lot many of us who are struggling right now in this era of VUCA world. So Anjana, we are very privileged to have you on this platform, Mahabodhi Talks, and I'm just giving you the flow. Please tell us and your story from the beginning, and let us know the kind of challenges you have gone through and how you have reached to this level.
Sure. Thank you so much. And it's always been an honor and a privilege to be on a platform which is as huge as this. Thank you, Hirenji. Yes, I've been knowing Hirenji for a very long time now. And a couple of things that I definitely resonate with what he says is the upbringing and the value system that Mahabodhi has. I kind of blend with it very beautifully. So I'm going to talk about my life today, and the only reason I feel that this could be a place where all of us could look at life from a different perspective. I'm sure all of us have had challenges in our life. We have looked at life differently, but is it possible to be positive at all the times? Well, may or may not be. Sharing my story is purely from an objective that if there is something from my story that you can relate with, if there's something from my story that you feel you can take it away, something from my story that you feel that if she can do it, even I can do it. If that's what you can take away, I think that will be the biggest success criteria of Mahabodhi Talks. So at that particular note, let me quickly start about myself. A young girl came to planet Earth on the 1st of July, साल बता दूंगी तो ईयर समझ आ जाएगा, मेरी उम्र समझ आ जाएगी, बट ठीक है, I will give that leeway to all of y'all. So yes, 1st of July 1974, that's when this huge structure landed on planet Earth. But when she landed, the structure wasn't this huge. Yeah, I mean, not in this huge as in not grown up wise, but even as a child is born, there is a certain weight that we expect the child to have. Unfortunately, I was born like I wouldn't call it underweight baby, but not a perfect weight baby. Unfortunately, within the 3-4 days of me being coming on this planet Earth, I suffered from paratyphoid. And at that age, to get paratyphoid was something which was very, very scary. Today, when I talk about it, of course, we laugh about it. So I remember, in my childhood, when I was growing and when I knew about all these things, when I could understand these things, I remember my mom telling me that every evening when my dad used to come back from work, he would actually look outside the house and say, "Arey, log jama nahi hai na? There are not a lot of people. Na? That means my daughter is alive." It was that bad. My mom would feed me milk with a dropper, and one drop of milk would go inside, and exactly within seconds, that same drop would come out from the other side. It was that bad at that point of time. But obviously, the care, the love, the affection that you get from people at that point of time, for whatever you are as a child, does take you a long way. And that gave me the health, recovered from it, moved ahead in life, and was very happy and contented in life. I had my grandparents who used to take care of me as a child. So I even today remember, so I'm a perfect north-south breed combination. So my Nanaji was a Sardar and my father is a Malayali. And that's why I say that, the most intelligent genes comes to you when you have cross-pollination. And imagine a north-south kind of a pollination. What better can you ask for? So I used to stay with my Nana and Nani while my mom and dad used to go to work. And my Nanaji used to teach me all the Punjabi Gurbani stuff, Ek Onkar and everything. And I would learn with him. Although he was blind, he used to take care a lot about the education part of it, teaching and everything. And I was very closely bonded to my Nana and my Nani. Unfortunately, I lost them at a very early age in my life. It did create an impact on me. Being all alone at that age, I had a younger brother. I do have a younger brother, in fact, and he's 78 born, 4 years younger to me, but somebody who was very tough and very supportive all his life. So although we used to fight cats and dogs, no doubt about it, we used to really, chew each other up, if I had to say it that way. But he stood by me all by my life. He has been a pillar of strength for our family to a very large extent. A very normal story, it sounds like, right? So after that, got into education. पढ़ाई के बारे में अगर बात करूं तो I was never a scholar. पढ़ाई भी एकदम mediocre थी. पास हो गई तो घर में मिठाई बटती थी. So I till date remember 10th standard ka, those days results used to come in Times of India, and my mom and dad both worked for the income tax department. So I remember my mom's friend who was working in Times of India, and mom gave her my roll number along with another 10 जनों का रोल नंबर के साथ दिया था, एंड सबके रिजल्ट आ गई. कितना मिला? 60, 72, 60, 58, ये सब परसेंटेजेस आ रहे थे, एंड मेरा परसेंटेज उसने बताया नहीं. तो मम्मा ने पूछा, अरे अंजू का नहीं बताया तुमने? So my house name is Anju. So they, अंजू का नहीं बताया तूने? तो she said, are you sure this is her number? पक्का यही है उसका नंबर? हाँ हाँ यही है, 2 बार चेक किया, यही है. क्या हुआ, फेल हो गई? नहीं नहीं, खाली 48% आया. My mom was like, पास हो गई, मिठाई बांटो. वो टाइम पे जब सब लोग ने लड्डू बांटे थे, मेरी माँ ने काजू कतरी बांटी थी. क्यों? क्योंकि मेरी बेटी पास हो गई. मतलब उतनी भी उम्मीद नहीं थी मेरे घर वालों को मेरे से. But what actually happened at that phase of time was, although I was not great at studies and my brother was exactly contrast. मतलब अगर मैं 35 लेके आऊंगी on 100, तो So he would get probably a 98 on 100. So that contrast was there in the house. I would sit with a book throughout the day and he would like 15 minutes mein book mein se 4 chapter palta. Ha ho gaya, I'm going. And I used to always feel, okay, why can't I study? But I think what had happened was the loss of my grandparents had hit me very hard. And शायद उस वजह से, I don't know, I mean आज भी मुझे पता नहीं है why I was not able to study. Maybe it was the subjects, but one thing that good happened in my life was my parents understood that and never expected beyond miracles out of me. So that kind of worked very well for me. Education wahan ho gayi, I joined college, and 360-degree turn is what happened. When I joined college, suddenly I started loving all the subjects. Economics became one of my favorite subjects. I used to score the highest. I used to teach people. No tuitions, nothing. 11th, 12th, and 12th, suddenly a miracle happened and I scored 70% in 12th from a 48% in 10th. And that miracle just continued. I love to do everything except studies. I was very active in extracurricular activities. So right from childhood, I have been very good in speaking. So I remember bachpan mein summer camp lagte the. So Khalsa College mein there was a summer camp which was there. And summer camp mein chief guest was my dad because he's been a national level player, national level athlete. So I remember when the summer camp was going on. After the summer camp, last day of the summer camp is when, you know, you get rewarded, certificate milti hai ke summer camp complete kar liya. This is a sports summer camp. All the kids are sitting in front except me, who's sitting with two more kids or sitting on the other side. Jahan stage hai, stage ke parallel I'm sitting. And my dad is sitting there and he was like giving me all that looks. He's like, जरूर इसने कुछ तो किया होगा, कहीं पे भी लोगों के साथ बैठने को इसको आता ही नहीं है, इधर भी अकेले जाके बैठ गई है, I don't know what she thinks of herself, this, that, everything. And he had no clue कि मुझे वहां अलग क्यों बिठाया गया. And जब पूरा सेशन खत्म हो गया, अवार्ड्स मिल गए, सारा कुछ हो गया, the vote of thanks was something I was giving. I was the youngest that time and I was giving a vote of thanks. Very confidently, I went on the mic and I spoke very nicely and everything. And then people went and told my dad, like, Aapki beti, very nice, so beautifully she spoke. And suddenly my dad was like, ha, my daughter. 5 minutes pehle to mere ko aise gandi nazaron se dekh rahe the, what changed? But that's been my childhood all throughout. I remember when I started doing theater in college. So I've done theater for 18 years of my life, and so a lot of stuff in theater that you do is practice. And I come from a very conservative family background, jahan pe service is very important, regular source of income is very important, because that's the hardships my family has seen. From being the lowest grade in the department to retiring as a commissioner of income tax, that's the journey my dad has covered. That's the journey my mom has covered, you know, from that level to retire as an officer of income tax. So that's the journey they have covered. I remember Diwali ke time pe income tax department mein ye log bulk mein you know, patake order karte the, and we used to get these boxes and we used to count, aaj 3 jalana hai, kal 4 jalana hai, parsu 5 jalana hai, because that's the background we came from. And a very, very conservative, reserved background. So I remember when I was doing theater, I got an opportunity to do multiple times theater, and there were auditions happening for a lot of TV serials and everything. And the director who I worked with, he used to come from the industry. So my dad was like, "Nautanki nahi karna. Padhai pe dhyan do. You have to become something in life. These people don't become anything in life." And that's where it all began. So those days, whatever dad said was patthar ki lakeer, you know, you couldn't move out of that domain, and that's where you had to strictly work around with you. So with that theater background and stuff like that, did whatever I could, always made them proud after doing it. But the doing journey was more like sitting in the bathroom for more than 1 hour because I had to by heart my dialogues, because if I do it outside, dad is like, पढ़ाई नहीं करने का, ये क्या फालतूगिरी चालू है. But yes, stage पे जाके, when I used to give him passes to, you know, when I used to give him passes to come to the theater to come and watch. So SNDT college had the stage where he would come during lunchtime to just come and watch my play, and probably had an extra pass, so would get somebody along with him. definitely it was a matter of great pride for him when he used to see me perform on stage and, see the aura that I used to create on stage. But nautanki, nautanki. So you can't do that in life. You have to do something constructive in life. Journey began from there, moved from there, and I had always seen my parents work. So for me, working was very important. So started working during my summer vacations. I used to do little works here and there. I had a very good mentor as a teacher who would get me, this little assignments that I would do and stuff like this. So life was going very great. Got into the corporate world, started working. Everything was going fabulous. Obviously, there comes a stage where you have to get married and move on in life, and that's exactly what happened. I was working with HSBC that time, and my husband, who's a captain with he's a pilot, so he's a captain with Pavanan's helicopters. He's Captain Vinod, and he had always been somebody who all his life he had been alone in a hostel, or he had been independently living, because my father-in-law was a TC in the railways.
So
So his
Anjana,
was a
one
transferable
question
job.
here. You are going very fast, so we would like to also know about the first meeting of you and Vinod.
Oh, yes, definitely. So that's a very interesting one, Hirenji. And so this is something I'm sure all of us would love to hear. So for me, 14th Feb is when Captain came to see me, and 20th March is when I was married. So we hardly had any courtship time per se in between. And I remember, I think 3 days before the wedding, he came and he asked my dad that, I have not done any shopping for the wedding and I would want to shop for the wedding. So can I take her out? And for me, I was a totally non-branded person. So, having 150 rupees ka matching watch from Alpha, to having, Hind Mata say 100 rupees ka dress material, wearing new every day. Variety was something which was very important for me. While Vinod was completely contrast. For him, even his chaddi banyan had to be branded. He couldn't walk out without a brand like that. So he was a chalta firta brand. And I remember the first time when we went out to shop for him. So we were supposed to meet at Shopper Stop. And Shopper Stop for me those days was like probably a LV today, or if I had to say a Veromoda or something like that, or Marks and Spencer. So it was like a big thing. Never bought anything from there because we never were thinking on those lines. For us, new dresses would be Diwali or birthday. It was as simple as that. So that's the humble background my parents brought me up with. So we went to the showroom out there, and I remember I said, I have to show him that maybe come nahi hu. I also wear brands. So I carried 1,000 rupees in my purse, and those days 1,000 rupees are like big money. So I carried that money. We went to the counter, and I picked up one chudidar because that was on sale that time, and it was available for 150 rupees. I still date remember that black color chudidar. So I picked that up, went to the billing counter, and this is the first time I'm going out with a man. So he looked at me and he's like, I will pay. So I didn't want to argue. I was like, sure. So he paid it, and then from there we came down, and then we went to Bandra, Linking Road. We went to Alan Solly for his shopping. Now, for the world of me, I had never heard of that brand also, because brand or mera koi connection hi nahi tha. So I went to Alan Solly's showroom in Bandra, and if you know Alan Solly is more like a British brand. तो उनके showrooms में अगर आप जाओ तो it's a very old cottage, British cottage का look है उसमें. So I went there with him and I was like, shit, मेरे को इतने बड़े मॉल में लेके गया था, ये तो खटारे में आके seconds का माल ले रहा है लगता है. I actually had that feeling inside me. And so he went there, he picked up 3 shirts, 2 trousers, some jockey stuff and all that stuff, and he came to the billing counter. I had 1,000 rupees with me. I also very smartly looked at him at the billing counter and said, I will pay. So he also very nicely acknowledged, he's like, please. So the bill came to me and I looked at the bill and I was like, ये तो 1,000 से बहुत 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 ज्यादा है. अब मैं क्या करूं? So what do I do now? So luckily I had my credit card with me and I swiped the credit card and he felt very great. Because for Vinod, nobody had ever shopped for him. All his life, he used to shop for himself. So this was the first time in his life somebody had shopped for him. So I remember, pure shadi mein, he went around telling all his friends, all his relatives, full wedding shopping my wife did for me. Full wedding shopping my wife did for me. So abhi tak to everything was going great. And he never wanted me to work after I got married. So I left my job at SNPC and I decided to be a housewife. So I stayed back at home, and obviously after the wedding was over and everything, your accounts change, your billing addresses change, everything changed. So after the
So
billing
Anjana,
address,
here I would like to stop you. One more question over here. See,
किरण जी सारे सीक्रेट बाहर निकलवा रहे हो आप.
Pakka, sir. Yes.
बोलिए.
See, one sentence which you have just spoken, that you have decided to stop working. How easy was for you to take the decision? Just because you got married and you have to leave so many things, it is related to your career, and for that you have maybe you have worked very hard to reach to that position.
Well, very honestly, at that point of time, the age that I was in, and I started working very early, तो मुझे ज़्यादा नहीं लगा था. I mean, I was happy to be in the house at that point of time. But realization बोलते हैं ना, आप कदम उठा लो, realization उसके बाद होती है. So that's exactly what happened with me. I very conveniently left my job and I decided to be at home and everything. So it was very great, तभी क्योंकि सास भी कभी बहुत ही चलता था पहला एपिसोड. I was very happy दोपहर को I will see that and all that stuff. So everything was very nice. But realization strikes you after a certain point of time. So after a month and a half after I got married, so all the billing addresses changed and everything changed. मेरे क्रेडिट कार्ड का बिल नए एड्रेस में आया, एंड नाउ तो आई एम नॉट वर्किंग. सो आई गिव द बिल टू विनोद एंड आई सेड पे. आई तो आई एम नॉट वर्किंग. सो ही टिल डेट टेल्स मी, मैं किस किस को जाके बताऊं कि मेरे शादी का शॉपिंग का खर्चा मैंने किया था, मेरी बीवी ने नहीं किया था. बट I think after a month and a half is when realization actually struck. Because he would go to office at 8 o'clock in the morning and not return till 6, 6:30, 7 sometimes, depending on what traffic he used to get. Initially, Saas Bahu was fun. After that, it started getting monotonous. And then you suddenly start thinking, can I do something with my life? I mean, how much are you going to cook and how much are you going to do, all the jhadu, pocha, everything every day? How much? So that was the point of time when I spoke to Vinod and I said that, listen, you know what? I want to pick up a job. So it was very simple. He said, yeah, of course you can, but make sure you go to office after I go and you come back before I come. Because I don't want to enter an empty house after I have you in the house. So I picked up a job accordingly. Very supportive he had been in, letting me go ahead with that. So I picked up a job in one of the sales company. Now, since I came from a sales background, it was very easy for me to get into that. It was virtual selling of space that I had to do. Joined the company, but it was a proprietary company. And, आप कितना भी corporate बोल लो, there are certain set of corporates which are ownership driven and will always have the baniya mentality, if I had to put it that way, that मेरा company है, ये level तक ही तुम जा सकते हो, इसके आगे तुम नहीं जा सकते. So a lot of incentives were held back and all that problem started having. Extended hours of work was expected. So I came home one day and I was like, I'm fed up, I don't want to do this. So the only answer I got from Vinod is, leave it, I can take care of you. I got married to you and I promised you I will take care of you. You don't need to take up the job. That was it. I quit my job. But, जैसे बोलते हैं शेर को खून लग गया है. So when you have a steady source of income coming, and as a woman, when you become financially independent, getting the dependency back sometimes becomes a challenge. So for me, that was the challenge I was facing. I didn't want to sit at home. And then gradually with that little income which was coming in, our standard of living kind of moved ahead. So we moved from the bike to a two-wheeler. From Kandivali, we moved to Andheri. So all those little changes started happening positively. So the support which was happening, from the little financial support which was happening, started showing results. And then I picked up a job in one of the leading KPOs, BPOs at that point of time because the boom period was there. My entire 9 months of pregnancy, I did only night shifts purely because I didn't want to be a precedent example of taking leverage in a corporate world. So I had very strong points, and I had both the extremes in my house. So I had my dad who worked with the department. Office starts at 9 o'clock. He would make sure he leaves home at 8. Office ends at 6:30. He will never be home before 7:15. And I had the exact contrast. Office starts at 9 o'clock. I had my mom who would sometimes go to office. Okay, sometimes I'm trying to cover up here, but sometimes go to office. She's retired, so I can say that now. So my mom, office starts at 9 o'clock. She would leave home at 9:30. Office ends at 6:30. 5 o'clock, my mom was always home. So my dad, honestly, throughout his life, never knew that my mom was working only till the end of the month when the salary used to come. Acha, ye pagar aa gaya, matlab kaam pe gayi thi. So it was more like that. So I had seen both the extremes in my house. Somewhere I felt, although my mom did whatever she did because she wanted to support the family, she wanted to be with the kids, she wanted to make sure she's striking a balance. I learned that from her. And from my dad, I learned a lot of discipline in life, to be honest in life. Whenever something is given to you, to be dedicated and deliver that. So that came from the family. And got married. I remember 9 months of pregnancy. I did night shifts, delivered a baby girl. And that's when the graph became actually the ECG that you see on a heart machine. So till now, whatever I said, I'm sure each one of you all, इसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है, हमारे लाइफ में भी क्या क्या हुआ, तो अब तक तो सब ठीक था, कहानी तो अब शुरू होती है. So I remember my daughter was only a year old. That's the time I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And initially, it was a lump in the breast. So I went to the normal pediatrician that I go to with for my daughter's treatment. And I told her, I said, I can feel a little pain here. I don't know what it is. So she said, you know what? This is because of the medication you took. Now, what medication she was referring to? So after I delivered my daughter, after I delivered her, I think after a week, I came back home because I had a normal delivery. After a week, I came back home. And I'm very fond of the tea my dad makes. Yeah, very specifically, the tea that my dad makes. I remember, my mama ke yahan rehne bhi jati thi. I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because that's the time my dad makes tea. I would get up, brush my teeth, have tea, and go back to sleep because I didn't want to miss on the tea that my dad makes. I even today. So if I had to choose between, going to my mom's place, and so my mom will look at my dad and think, "Aapki beti aayi hai, chai banao uske liye." So even today, it is like that for us in the house because I still love the flavor and the taste, the tea that he makes. So one morning, in the morning, I was having tea with my dad. And the tea started falling. So I have a habit of having tea in a plate. So I was having tea in a plate and the tea started falling off. So initially my dad is like, "Kya karti hai? Kaise chai pi rahi hai?" So I said, sorry. I just said sorry at that point of time and I kept the plate down. फिर से चाय डाला and moment I brought it close to my mouth and I started having tea again, it spilled again. And this time when it spilled, I was like, I looked at my dad and said, I don't know why this is happening. And I could see my dad's face turned red. Because when I was brushing my teeth and I tried to gargle, that time also the same thing happened. I didn't realize what it was, but my dad did. I had Bell palsy. First week after my baby is born. Bell palsy is nothing else but facial paralysis. So entire right side of my face was completely paralyzed. I had my lip, which was down. I had my eyes, which wouldn't shut. That's exactly what it was. Immediately at 6 o'clock in the morning, my dad called up my gynac and he said, there is a problem. You need to see. So we rushed to the hospital. Luckily, it was very close by. We rushed to the hospital. But before that, I want to tell one very interesting thing. How I forgot to tell how okay, my mother will beat me for this, but I'm going to tell this. So when I was 9 months pregnant, I remember during my delivery, I was inside the maternity room. So I was in labor from evening 6 o'clock till next day night 10:05 is when I delivered. So next day morning when I got up, my mom made one big glass of 2 scoops of ghee with all the dry fruits in it. So I said, I don't want to have this milk. She's like, nahi, nahi, pee le, bacha sup karke bahar niklega. I was like, मतलब घी वहां लगा लो, उससे अच्छा वैसे भी खिसक के बाहर निकल आएगा, ऊपर से क्यों डालना है? नहीं नहीं नहीं, ऐसे ही पीते, नानी ने ऐसे ही सिखाया था. So I was like, ठीक है. Now I didn't have much choices at that point of time. So I had the milk and we went to the gynac and the gynac checked. Is like, crowning abhi tak ho nahi raha hai, aap jao. And I was getting those cramps very strongly, and I remember telling my mom, I said, Mama, piche thoda malish karo. And my mom was trying her level best to console me. So she was putting slowly haath rub kar rahi thi and everything. And I kept hitting my mom, and I'm not exaggerating, actually hitting and beating my mom to tell her, समझ में नहीं आता है कि आपको कैसे करते हैं. And I was like, अभी मैं जब सोचती हूँ, like, दो बच्चे पैदा किए थे, उसको कैसे समझ में नहीं आएगा. But at that spur of the moment, that is what I did to my mom. So I even today remember how I had hit her, because the baby wouldn't be coming out at that point of time, and I was feeling really tired, angry, because the pain was unbearable. Baby came out, Bell palsy happened, and my dad took me to the doctor, and he very specifically, I remember, he spoke to the gynac and he told the gynac, she's still nursing the baby. And my gynac said, don't worry, it is fine, she can have this medication. She gave me steroids. I had 2 doses of steroids, and the taste of milk completely changed. My daughter refused to take breastfeeding. I had to stop nursing her almost immediately. And then we had to move to NAN1 and, all the possible milk options, the alternatives that are available. But that's what happened at that point of time. And within a week, I think in that week only or 2 days later, my dad's very close friend who was a homeopath, he had come to see the baby. And my dad told him, this is what happened to her. So he said, stop steroids immediately. I will give her a medicine. 1 week mein she'll be fine. This is very normal. Generally, mothers nurse their baby and they sleep. Wo nerve press ho jati hai, uske wajah se hota hai. Don't worry anything. And exactly like he said, 1 week of homeopathic medicine, I was back to normal. But by that time, my daughter had lost the taste of the milk and she refused to have it. So that's what happened. So I had no other choice, but I was lactating quite a lot. So I had to compress and get the milk out. Now, obviously, jab aap normal methodology nahi use karte ho, natural way nahi use karte ho, to after a certain point of time, there is hardly any, breast milk which keeps coming out. So I left it at that, and that had turned into a lump, is what my pediatrician told me. तो शी सेड, जो आपको दर्द हो रहा है, जो वो लंप है, वो ये दूध की गांठ है. डोंट वरी, इट्स अ मिल्क नॉट. टेंशन मत लो, गर्म पानी जाने दो एंड रब इट ओवर देयर एंड यू विल बी फाइन. सो आई वाज लाइक, ग्रेट, ठीक है. Tried that for 3 months. Nothing happened. And one day I was carrying my daughter when she hit her head on my breast, and I had tears in my eyes because I had complete blackout. That's the time she referred me to a surgeon. So I went to the surgeon, she did the checking, and she said, ek kaam karte hain, we will get an ultrasound biopsy done. I said, theek hai. So we got an ultrasound biopsy done. The biopsy reports came, and according to the reports, it was a non-malignant lump. Non-malignant, non-cancerous lump. So very happy, very satisfied. I went with my husband to the gynac, to that surgeon at that point of time, and she very coolly said, "Ke Anjana, nikalna hai to nikal lo, nahi to otherwise it will not do any harm." And my husband was very clear. He's like, "Why do you want? Nikal de." So I underwent a surgery, and she very coolly said that, "You know what, Anjana, I will make a cut, cosmetic cut, so that tomorrow if you have to wear any deep neck or anything, you don't need to worry about it, and it will be fine." Surgery was done, the lump was taken out. It opened up, all that happened. And now the biopsy report said it was malignant. It was a cancerous lump. I even today remember when I went to that surgeon, and we were sitting across, my husband was sitting next to me, and she said, Anjana, just step out. I want to talk to your husband. Somewhere down the line, I knew something was not right. And I looked at her and I said, listen, my body, my lump. I need to know more than anybody else. So with a lot of courage, she said, I know it's going to be difficult for you to take, but trust me, everything is curable nowadays. So all the background positivity she could possibly go ahead with, she went ahead with that. She tried to create that entire background ke tension mat le, kuch nahi hoga. And she put forward saying, it's cancer. And that's when life changed. And it changed with a lot of difficulty, with a lot of difference. I remember my husband calling up my parents and saying, there is something very serious. She's got cancer. No. So I went to Dr. Suresh Advani through my dad's, in the department, they knew a lot of doctors and they knew a lot of people. So we went to Bombay Hospital where the surgery was done. So in fact, this is a very interesting thing I would like to tell all of you all. So I remember the cancer was at a very delicate stage, very honestly. And because the lump was broken, it had spread across all throughout. So Dr. Suresh Advani gave us two options. He said, one is we do a bisection of the breast and only cancer affected portion we remove it, or you remove the entire breast. You have a choice. So I remember my husband and my dad both looked at each other and they asked the doctor, better kya hai? So he said, better yahi hai ki aap pura nikalwa lo. And unfortunately our Indian culture में अगर आप देखो तो किसी को भी बोलो एक lady के बारे में structure बनाओ lady का, तो it is an hourglass, you know, 2 breasts, 1 waist and a beautiful curved bottom. किसी ने भी एक breast वाली lady नहीं बनाई. So you can imagine how difficult it is for a woman to accept the fact that you're not a complete woman anymore, probably from tomorrow or day after when the surgery is going to happen. He also mentioned it's going to be a difficult surgery. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. So I remember when I was wheeled inside the operation theater. So both the doctor and his son who were supposed to operate on me, they looked at each other and they gave a look that operation करके क्या फायदा, ये तो जाने वाली है, इतना time waste होएगा अपना. That was an eye-to-eye conversation, no words, but eye-to-eye conversation that the doctor and his son had. And I was lying down there and I looked at the doctor and said, doctor, all good? You're feeling okay? So first he looked at me and he's like, patient कौन है, मेरे को doubt हो रहा है. Because कौन सा patient doctor को पूछेगा आपकी तबीयत कैसे है, especially when you're going to get, you know, go under the knife. So he said, no, we are good. Anjana, don't worry. Everything will be fine. But I knew the way he said it, probably I'll not make it. Kahin na kahin, that strong message was coming across in his body language, in the way he was talking. All this was coming across very strongly. So while the anesthetist was filling the injection and she was, you know, about to give it to me, and she asked me, Anjana, allergic to anything? Don't worry, everything will be fine. Are you allergic to anything? I said yes. And very loudly, I said yes. So the entire operation theater froze. The doctor, the lady who was getting an apron for the doctor, the one who was doing the surgical instruments arrangement, the cotton gauges who was making, everybody, suddenly everybody froze. Because obviously, जो उनके पास paperwork था, वहां पे कहीं पे भी लिखा नहीं था she's allergic to anything, and she's telling she's allergic. So they looked at me and like the doctor very scaringly asked me कि शायद surgery रोकना पड़ेगा. What are you allergic to? So I smiled and I looked at her. I said, the tumor which is inside my breast. Can you please remove that? I'm very allergic to this tumor. He had a hearty laugh. And then he said, don't worry, we will take care of your allergies and we'll make sure you're back. That was all I needed to speak to that doctor, to drive the positivity in him so that I survive. Journey after that only went to be more difficult. I could not pick up a bra from the shop and wear. I could not wear clothes which are ready-made because there was a difference of 1.5 inches in my hands. I remember for
Anjana, sorry to stop you here, but I couldn't resist myself to ask the question. See, it is very difficult lying on this, surgery, the table on the surgery, and spreading this kind of positivity. I think it is, it requires a lots of courage and a lots of positivity. Without it, definitely it is not possible. So how that, positivity came in that at the time, and what was the reason behind it?
Okay. So for me, Hirenji, what was very important is when I was diagnosed with cancer and I told I had cancer, and probably it was at a very advanced stage. I'm really not sure. It could have been life threatening at that point of time. But the only thing that drove me was I remember, driving down to the hospital when I was going to get admitted to the hospital, and my husband held my hand. We were sitting in the car and he held my hand. He said, you'll come back, no? He had tears in his eyes when he said that. Because between the two of us, we are poles apart. He's a very reserved, conservative guy, while I am somebody who can talk to a tree for 2 hours. For him, he had 2 friends or 3 friends. For me, I had a dozen. So, even if I had to walk from the 10th floor to the ground floor, I would take 3 hours to reach down because har floor pe koi na koi mil jayega mujhe. While for him, it was a matter of seconds because that's the background he had been born and brought up with. So for me, for him, I was his best friend. Even today, he first calls me a friend, then he calls me a wife. And the reason why that relationship is there is because we share anything and everything under the sun. So for him, after years, he has got a friend. So he caught my hand with a tear in his eye and he said, "Wapas aayegi na?" And I looked at him and I said, "Try karte. Aa hi jaungi waise to." But somewhere down the line, he had this fear in him. And I remember that time once this thought crossed his mind and he said, "You know what? Forget it. We are not going. Let's just go home. I can't think of a life without you. Let's just end. 3 of us, let's just end our lives." I said, "वो तो option हमारे पास हमेशा रहेगा. जिंदा बच के आ गई तो छाती पे मूंग डालने के लिए कौन रहेगा?" And he looked at me, he's like, "Are you serious? तेरे को अभी भी joke सूझ रहा है?" I said, "Listen, there are 2 ways in life you can live. One, define a purpose and move ahead." I said, "For me, मेरा एक ही dream है. I want to tie plaits for my daughter." And I trust that Almighty. Before leaving, I told him, "Make me tie plaits for my daughter." He said yes. So I know I'm going to come back. आप अपना देख लो. So he smiled and he said, "Pakka na?" I said, of course. Don't worry, setting here." So Hirenji, very honestly, when you're lying on that bed, how many of us here would say, "I don't mind dying"? None of us. We all want to live. But the point is, live for what? For me, I wanted to live for my daughter, not for anybody else. I only wanted to live for my daughter. I had a dream to see her do something and achieve something in life. That time I didn't know what. Today I have clarity, but that time I didn't know what. But I always wanted to be with her all her time. I wanted to nurture her, bring her up, because I had heard so many stories about kids, how naughty they get, how different they get. I wanted to experience all of that. So the purpose for me to smile and be positive was wanting to tie that plait for my daughter. That's all that I wanted to do.
So that one reason which I felt, seeing your daughter, growing and also achieving something, that was the biggest reason for you to, correct this kind of jokes at the deathbed, I can say, typically. And
absolutely.
right.
Absolutely. So that was the one that drove me. I remember so my daughter was only 1 year old when I underwent this surgery. And the doctor very clearly told me, Madam, aapke stitches, so they were not done the way it needed to be done. So I don't know whether it was my luck or it was the doctor who had a fight with his wife. I honestly don't know what it was, but the stitches were not done very perfectly. And for almost I think 40 days I had 2 bags which were hanging out of my breast with pipe where liquid would flow. And after the pipes were removed, the entire stitches required dressing. So every alternate day or after every 2 days I had to go to Bombay hospital to get my dressing done. My pillar of strength, or probably I can say the muscle man behind this, was my dad. So I remember when I used to go there, lie down on the bed, and when he used to remove those dressings to, clean the wound, for him, it was his job. It was a daily thing for him. कोई बड़ी बात नहीं थी उनके लिए, उनका profession है. But for my dad, it was his daughter who was lying there. And stitches का dressing, हम अगर अपने बच्चों के करते तो कितने प्यार से सारा कुछ हटा के करेंगे. He would do like this, and literally like that. It was done so hard. I remember holding my dad's hand every time I would get that dressing done. And hospital se bahar nikalne ke baad, dad used to show me his hand. Red, black, blue nahi. It used to go numb. Because मैं मेरे डैड का हाथ इतना जोर से पकड़ती थी, जितना मुझे दर्द होता था उतना टाइट मैं मेरे डैड का हाथ पकड़ती थी. My dad, seeing his daughter like that, going through this, I don't know what came to his mind. After 3-4 dressings, he went and told the doctor, लाना जरूरी है क्या हम ये घर पे नहीं कर सकते? तो he said, हाँ मैं आपको ऑइंटमेंट लिख के दे देता हूँ, घर पे कर लो. For my doctor, it was very easy because he was not getting paid for this dressing. It was all included. So अगर कोई और करेगा तो उसके लिए तो he's saving that much money. So after that, my dad started doing my dressing. And the wound healed like automatically, miraculously. ऐसे नहीं था कि when my dad was doing it wouldn't pain. But the pain was bearable because he was doing it with a lot of love and affection. So, but throughout the journey, जब तक surgery थी, जब तक marks थे, जब तक chemo चालू था, I couldn't meet my daughter. So my daughter was with my dad, with her dad at Andheri, and I was at King Circle with my parents. So I remember my daughter was all alone, and obviously husband was working. He had to manage stuff. I till date get tears in my eyes when I think about this episode. My mom used to work at Piramal Chambers. She used to go to Lower Parel station, take a train from there. And my mom has never in her life traveled by train. She was very comfortable by bus, but she used to travel by train. And train says she used to get off at Andheri station, come all the way to my house. Why? Because only she could spend half an hour, 40 minutes with my daughter, so that my daughter feels there is somebody for her. She used to take her down, show her a red color bus, and she would go back. I remember one day she came and she was a little shaken from inside. And so a little shaken or something. And I looked at my mom and said, what happened? So mom could not get inside the train. So she put her leg in, but she could not climb. She could not get inside the train. And that's the reason where the train started. And people inside the train dragged her and pulled her inside the train. And the handicapism that she went through at that point of time, just to be with my daughter, gave me a lot of courage that you have people like this in your life. Can you give up so easily? Journey
Certainly
from
not.
there began, left my corporate career to be with my daughter, fought cancer from a very different level, finally got back. And now I'm a freelance corporate trainer from the past 8 years. Fortunately enough, the strength that I have, the communication that I do with people does aspire a lot of people. So when I say I'm the only breast cancer coach, I remember addressing a group of women, at one of the forums. And one of the ladies came and said, Madam, so many motivational speakers we have heard. So easy. आप बात करने में क्या जाता है, जो सफर करता है ना उसको मालूम है मैडम. And I didn't say anything. I just smiled. I went down the stage. I went next to her. I pulled my dress down and said, Madam, same to say. And she was shocked to see that I am a cancer survivor with one side of my breast completely gone. But that doesn't make me less of a woman. I think what is very important is life will throw challenges at you. The difference is, how do you look at it? And I always believe in one very simple principle of life, which is the 3 circles, which I always tell. One is your circle of control, whatever you can do to a situation. Second is circle of influence. Can you have people do this for you? And the third is a circle of concern. Log kya kahenge? Unfortunately, 90% of us live in that circle. The day you decide that everything is in your control, and whatever is in your control, you do. If it is not in your control, can you influence somebody? Like I influenced God, you can influence somebody as well. And that will work. So I believe only in one principle in life, which I definitely would like to end my talk with, is I always look at life. I always look at challenges. I always look at problems. And I never say, yaar, why me? I never say that. You know what I say? It's not why me. It is try me. And that's how I look and smile at life. Yes, Guru Prasad, the 3 circles in life are, or the 3 circles of life are circle of control, which is the centermost circle, circle of influence, which is the circle that comes outside where you can't do it, but you can tell people to do it for you. And the third one is circle of concern, which is nothing in your control, but you bother too much about. So life is all about not why me, but anytime, try me. Thank you so much, Hirenji, for having me over.
Thank you so much, Anjana, for this wonderful, describing your journey, starting from, the ups and then the down and then the again ups. So it shows, about the falcon. So, how we can, anytime we can go down in our life, there's a better chances of coming up. But most of the time people, lose the hope, or quit, and where I can see in your talk that, you have never quit, you say no to yourself that I will never quit. मैं कभी छोड़ूंगी नहीं, right?
So life is all about that. It's all about, हारना, सरेंडर करना सबसे ज्यादा आसान है. तो ये मेरे को बहुत लोग कई बार पूछते हैं कि अंजना पॉजिटिव कैसे रहते हैं लाइफ में, हमेशा पॉजिटिव कैसे रहते हैं. तो आई गिव देम वन वेरी सिंपल एनालॉजी. आई सेड अगर आप चाय या कॉफी एक मग में पीते हो तो उसमें चाय या कॉफी बाकी रहती है एंड. अगर आप वो कप लेकिन बहते हुए पानी में नल के नीचे रख दो तो सबसे पहले जब पानी ओवरफ्लो होगा वो गंदा पानी निकलेगा. आप थोड़ी देर और पकड़ के रखो, जब पूरी कॉफी या चाय निकल जाएगी तो फ्रेश पानी निकलेगा. तो मुझे सिर्फ इतना बोलना है कि जब से आप पैदा हुए हो, 28, 29, 30, 40, 50 years of your life, you have lived negatively या negative thoughts आने दिए आपको. आज एक अंजना का टॉक सुन के पॉजिटिविटी ओवरराइड तो नहीं आएगी. तो एक सिंपल लॉजिक और एक सिंपल एक्सरसाइज है, जब भी आपके दिमाग में एक नेगेटिव ख्याल आए, काउंटर इट विद 2 पॉजिटिव थिंग्स दैट कैन हैपन. तो किसी का नंबर नहीं लग रहा है, लेट हो गया, बंदा घर नहीं आया, उसको एक्सीडेंट तो नहीं हो गया, उसको ये तो नहीं हो गया. एक्सीडेंट तो नहीं हो गया, उसका काउंटर कुड भी उसकी बैटरी डिस्चार्ज हो गई होगी, हो सकता है उसके पास चार्जर नहीं हो सकता है किसी और का एक्सीडेंट हो गया हो, ये मदद करने को गया हो. कैन आई लुक एट लाइफ फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव? If every negative can be countered with a positive, that is when the positive water will eventually start flowing out.
So that definitely this is going to be a very key takeaway, you know, from this entire session and the secret of your positivity.
Absolutely.
Anjana, I think we have not many comments in this chat box, but still I want our participants, because they have joined in the Zoom, they have taken out the time. I will take one question from this group. The first question which will reflect in the chat box, we will take that first question to the Anjana. So anyone would like to ask any question, definitely they can write in the chat box as soon as possible. If anyone wants to share something or want to say something, definitely we are there. Yes. Okay, so I think Devjani has written very inspirational super takeaway. So Devjani, you would like to unmute yourself and you want to ask any.
Nothing to ask, Hindi, but yeah, I know Anjana for quite a long time, and she's very inspirational otherwise also. But today's speech, today's talk that she gave.
Sorry, I can't hear. Are you able to hear now?
Are you able to hear me?
Voice is that a little bit shaky or very low. If you can raise the voice.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
No.
Is it better? Is it better?
This is better. This is better.
All right, thank you. I had actually forgotten my mic; it was up. Okay, Hirenji, no questions as such, but I know Anjana for quite a long time now. I've heard her videos. She's very, very inspiring. Otherwise, also today's talk has really made me emotional. The way she has gone through her journey is really very difficult, and it's very difficult to survive or be positive that way. So a takeaway from my side will be, yes, be positive. And at the end, towards the end, that she said that अगर कुछ हो गया हो, कोई घर पे नहीं आया हो, तो उसको नेगेटिव के बजाय दो पॉजिटिव चीजें भी आप अगर सोचेंगे तो थिंक माइट, जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि पॉजिटिव पॉजिटिव को खींचता है, तो it definitely turns out that way. So that's the takeaway from my side. Thank you, Anjana, for being so positive, and thank you, Hirenji, for inviting me over here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Devjani.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you who have joined here. Take out the time to support this Mahabodhi Talks. Next time, in next episode, we are going to come with one more success story in front of you. Till the time, stay positive, stay healthy, take care of yourself, take care of other people, take care of the people who are surrounding you, help the people who needs your help in whatever way you can, and love to all of you, gratitude to all, and that's all from my side. And see you again in the next episode of Mahabodhi Talks, success stories, stories that inspires. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anjana.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great weekend or week evening, Sunday evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pramodji. Thank you, Anand. Thank you so much, all this
thank you.
Mahabodhi family.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anjana.